Corruption by P.K. Armstrong. Chapter 18. Angel left her parents feeling a little adrift, so she headed to Sinclair. A year ago, when Violet was placed into foster care with Angel and had returned to Sinclair Academy, Angel and Francine had arranged with the school that Fridays were minimum days on her schedule. The plan was to begin her weekend usually with one-on-one time with Angel, Francine, or Jerry at one of her favorite places. She was a little early and thought she could stop and talk to Aidan Penrod. Not only a close friend, but she had arranged for him to take over security at the school after Violet's assault. Aidan was out, so Angel volunteered to get Violet from art class, walk to the dormitory to collect her things, and return to the office to check her out for the weekend. Angel strolled through the grounds at her leisure. The owner, Ella Sinclair, wanted the Sinclair Academy campus to mirror the women's college she attended herself. Not surprisingly, the grass was well kept, with girls either on their own or in groups sprawled across its lengths. There were outcroppings of rocks and foliage with seating placed sporadically so the students could lounge during study periods, lunch, and after classes. The afternoon sun made the campus bright and cheery, and the air was full of scent from the flowering plants. Angel nodded hello to a couple of giggling girls headed in the opposite direction and entered the arts building. Making her way to the third floor, she stopped at the door, peeped through the glass, and caught the art instructor's attention. Margaret Cherry had been the art instructor at Sinclair Academy for 20 years. She taught sketching, drawing, sculpting, and photography. She was whimsical, with her tunic tops, flowing skirts, and rainbow-colored clogs. She flitted from student to student, encouraging even the smallest skill. She was, for Angel, one of the most influential teachers she encountered. Miss Cherry was the teacher that taught Angel that it was okay not to take yourself too seriously from time to time. She gave Angel a secret smile and glided over to greet her. "Heavenly Angel, how are you, dear?" "I'm fine, Miss Cherry." "You are an adult, no longer my student, Angel." "It is probably best to call you Miss in front of the students," Angel responded, interpreting her statement correctly. Miss Cherry's smile grew wider. "Still the serious girl." Even so, she agreed graciously. "I suppose you are right." Angel glanced around the light, airy room, observing the students at various stages of creativity, some covered with more paint than others. She found Violet feverishly concentrating on her easel in the corner. She smiled at her little face screwed up in contemplation. Miss Cherry followed her glance. "You know Violet? She is doing so well. She reminds me of you now that I think about it. A serious little girl that every now and then needs someone to push her into flights of fancy." Angel grinned at Miss Cherry. "I'll give you a tip. Anytime you need to loosen her up, set her free in the gardens. She loves bugs, flowers, and mud." That explains why she's having difficulty over that abstract painting she is working on. "I'm actually here to pick her up. She spends the weekends with me and my family." "Wonderful! I'm delighted to hear it," she said to Angel, and then to Violet. "Violet, my flower, time for you to go." Angel laughed at the way Miss Cherry pronounced all the syllables in Violet's name. Violet looked up and upon seeing Angel abandoned her easel and rushed over in a big hug. "Oops! I hope I don't have paint on my apron." Angel grasped the small, dainty girl in her arms and crushed her to her body in a big hug. "Who cares about a little paint? It will wash. Are you ready?" "I have to clean up first." "Shall I help?" Angel asked, and Violet's eyes lit up and her face glowed as she grabbed Angel's hand and proudly escorted her back to where her easel stood. Violet placed her canvas in a drying rack, and Angel folded up her easel. They rinsed the brushes and cups together and tidied everything in its place, and, waving to Miss Cherry, left the art room to head towards Violet's dormitory. They retrieved Violet's things from her solitary room, assigned to her out of deference for her traumatic experience, and situated near the live-in dormitory assistant. Angel looked around the room and noticed the changes from bereft to normal. She didn't have much when she moved in. A few clothes, books, and some stuffed animals Angel and her parents got her. Now it looked like a little girl's room with pictures of her favorite things, mainly butterflies, bugs, and bunnies, photos of Angel and her parents, and even one of Violet on the swing in her parents' yard. Violet had created some storyboards and posters for her schoolwork and goals and adventures she wanted to have later in life. These two were displayed proudly on the walls. I like what you've done with your room, Violet, Angel praised. Violet grinned. Do you like the picture of me on the swing? Angel nodded, and then Violet asked, suddenly shy, do you think the next time I'm with Jerry and Francie, we can all take a picture together? Angel smiled and agreed enthusiastically. I think that is a great idea. Maybe we can match colors. Or t-shirts, Violet shouted. They grabbed her things and made their way back to the office to check Violet out. Violet threw her overnight bag in the back seat and got into the front. Putting her seatbelt on, she asked Angel as she was getting in the car, where are we going? One of Violet's favorite places was the Lake District. The area was rejuvenated by the city several years ago and was now a popular spot for boating, skiing, and any other water activities you could think of. And if you were not drawn by the water, a jogging and biking path, sand volleyball, and picnic grounds. The Landing restaurant and its surrounding property was originally a rickety boat platform. The owners, upon learning of the city's plans to revitalize the spot, built a 7,000 square foot restaurant, the back half, an open air section which extended out over the lake. Although the location and its view were a highlight for many, it was not true of Violet, who at first sight was taken by the coral-colored walls of the restaurant and the bright green and blue umbrellas that sheltered each of the patio tables. The nearby docks were littered with boats of all sizes, painted so brightly they reflected the late morning sun. The breeze wafted over the water and was a little cool, but the sun warmed them, and the scent from the water hyacinth, naiads, and blazing stars sprinkled among the cattails was heavenly. The server approached them in an aquamarine blue polo shirt and black pants, with his black hair buzzed into a faux hawk with purple tips. He did a dramatic bow to Violet, winked at her, and asked what the little miss would like to eat. Violet chose chicken tenders, Angel a club sandwich, and they both opted for fries. They sat looking out over the water, sipping their raspberry iced tea, with Violet making desultory remarks about school and Angel nodding to encourage her to talk. It was after their food came and they began eating that Violet asked, do you have a new case? Angel was a little startled at her question. Yes. Violet put another bite of food in her mouth, chewed slowly, purposefully, and swallowed. Does it have something to do with my mom? Ever since she had been told that Brandy wasn't her real mom, Violet, whenever she spoke of her, referred to her as Brandy. The fact that she didn't now caused Angel to look at her sharply. Your mom? Angel asked carefully. Yeah, you know, my real mom. Violet took another bite of food and looked down, avoiding Angel's gaze. What makes you think it's about your real mom? You're not listening. The only time you don't pay attention to me is when you're worried about me. My real mom is the only thing you could be worried about. Angel had the grace to be embarrassed. I'm sorry, my sweet. You're right. I'm working a new case and she paused, not knowing how much to tell her. You are also right. It is about your real mom. Violet nodded and kept eating her food. At first, Angel thought she had no reaction until Violet reached for her glass and Angel saw her hand shaking a little bit. You know, it's not just about that. To tell you the truth, I'm real worried about Christopher. Violet froze and looked at Angel, her eyes wide. Detective Christopher, he's back from Washington. We haven't seen him. Is he in trouble? What does he have to do with my mom? Violet's words rushed from her mouth, and Angel knew from experience that she was going to need more than just superficial answers. Nothing, really. It's just that Christopher's case involves some bad cops. My mom is a cop? No, not your mom. Angel looked at Violet and waited to see if she would make the leap. Her eyes grew even wider. My dad? My dad is a bad cop? We aren't sure. You see, we heard a story that would explain who your mom and dad are, but we don't know for sure. We would have to get DNA. Oh, we learned about DNA in science class. You could take a cotton swab and rub it inside my cheek and then do the same to the man and woman and see if they are my parents. Angel smiled at Violet's practicality. You wouldn't mind if we had to do that? Violet shook her head and reached for the bowl of ice cream left by their server. So, is Detective Christopher going to arrest my dad? I don't know. Someone killed a man, and Christopher will investigate. Sometimes there is more than one bad guy. So it may not be your dad that killed someone, but he may know who did. Violet nodded, understanding, and began eating her ice cream. Detective Christopher will catch them. But you're going to help, aren't you? Angel smiled. Yes, my love, we will both work to get you the answers you want. And you'll keep Detective Christopher safe, and he will keep you safe. Francine Dale had made a point in explaining that the first thing Violet needed was security, to feel safe, and with each new experience they made sure she felt just that. But all the same, it still amazed Angel how much trust this sweet little girl had in her and in Christopher. One thing was for sure, Violet was right. She would protect Christopher with her life.